top of the hour right here on Fox Local. In the meantime, Tony P, we do have to move on.
Yes.
And we have to talk about something a little more fun, a little lighter, and that is, of course, Valentine's Day, because it is right around the corner. It is Saturday. That means love is in the air, Tony P.
Already?
Are you feeling it?
I mean, I can feel Cupid around me. The pixie dust is here.
Tony P,
my heart's even a little bit better.
In the ass is what he means.
Hey, listen.
Tonight we're talking all about love and relationships, Tony P.
I'm in for that.
That's what we are doing, all right? And we need some help to do it. We are talking about a celebrity matchmaker. Her name is April Davis. She is the founder of Luma Luxury Matchmaking, and she joins us now live here on the Live Zone Primetime. April, thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
All right, first and foremost, talk to us a little bit about Luma Luxury Matchmaking and what that is.
Yeah, so we are a concierge type of service, and it's for people that don't have time and don't want to deal with all the apps, but they're looking for a relationship, a commitment, and, the right kind of person that they can just go through life with. And so we are who you can outsource that whole process to, and we have our own proprietary database of individuals that we've been able to interview and see what they're like, so we can determine who would be a good match for our clients and then set them up on a date, introduce them.
Now, on a Valentine's Day week and day like this, there are a lot of people that are celebrating Galentine's or being single. Singles Appreciation Day, they call it sometimes, right? What are some of the things that people who may not be in a romantic relationship could be doing during this time to get ready to potentially pursue a matchmaking situation like yours, or put themselves back out there in the dating world to potentially find someone by next Valentine's Day?
Yeah, there's so many ways to meet someone. You don't need to just pick up the app and get on there and think that you need to order up a person, right? That you could meet people out in the world. So I always tell people to go and do those hobbies or explore those interests that you may have always wanted to, but maybe you didn't have time. And when you are out and meeting people, make sure you smile, make sure you're open. Especially women, you need to be able to give guys an opening so they feel like they can approach you and they can talk to you. After the whole Me Too movement, it really kind of turned dating upside down on its head, and I think men are more they're scared. They're nervous to approach a woman. So nowadays, women, you have to go after what you want, and you have to, if that's a man, you have to be willing to go after him too. So I think that's one of the best things they can do.
Let's get into some of the nitty-gritty bullet points, okay? One piece of advice that you offer is dating outside of your type. What does that mean?
Well, so often people will tell me, like, I want someone just like my ex, except it means that it's a fantasy, because that person does not exist. And it's time to do something different, because we've all heard what's the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So you want to try to, maybe if you are, insistent that I will only date somebody within the city, and I don't drive. Well, maybe your person lives in Baltimore or something. You have to open up your radius and date a different kind of a person, not just judging a book by its cover and like that physical type. So get out.
But what advice then do you have for all of those women out there who may say that they won't date anyone under 6 feet tall, for example?
Good luck.
What do you think the short? What message do you have for the women out there who have height limits?
Yeah. Well, okay, so that's another thing with all these apps. You have this idea, you think that there's just tons of people out there, and too many, because it's 75% men. So women have to put some kind of filter in there in order to sort through them and find their person, right? So height is one of those filters that they feel they need to put in there. And it's just not realistic. It's like less than 1% of the population is over 6 foot tall. I think the average man is 5'9" in the US. So if you want to get real, if you want to find a real relationship, you have to be open-minded as to what kind of package that person can come in.
One of the things that, especially like as a young guy and being on social media, that I have found is this, healthy masculinity and healthy dating and things of that nature, which I think are really, really good, and I think it's important. What are some things that you have seen in your research and work that men can really work on to be better partners, to be better in the dating world, and just being able to make a connection? Because we, are seeing a male loneliness epidemic. Again, that's coined. That's kind of, again, there's no proof of that, but I think that's one thing we're seeing on social media. What are some of the things that men can work on to become those partners they want to be?
No, I think there is definitely a loneliness epidemic. I've heard it time and time, not just for men, it's women, it's everyone. And I think you're right. I think that people are going in the right direction as we've become more knowledgeable about just psychology and understanding interpersonal skills and relationships, being consistent, following through on plans, making plans, taking the lead. When you hear of women going to Home Depot in order to try to find their man, that's telling you something. They're looking for a guy that is not afraid to be the man in the relationship. And even though she might be a boss babe, and very successful and all those things, she still wants someone that she can depend on and feel like maybe she can let her femininity out at home and be comfortable with her man at the end of the day. So it's doing those types of things. It's taking on that leadership role. It's taking on the responsibility and maybe just planning the date, picking her up. It goes back to like just kind of old fashioned, really, at the end of the day.
All right, so you also say to be clear about your goals and expectations and be willing to have a conversation about them up front.
Right. So often people will say, well, let's just, go out on a couple days. Let's see where it goes. Well, that just tells me that this person is not interested, looking for a commitment. They're just, it's easy for them. Again, with the apps and everything, most women are looking for a relationship and men know this. So they know what to put on their profile. And oftentimes, so they'll say that they're looking for a relationship also, but that might not be the truth. So if somebody tells you that, they're just want to see where it goes, that is a sign that maybe they're not somebody that is looking for a true commitment. So know what you want, know where you're going. Like if you want to have kids and a family, get married, or if you're somebody that wants to travel the world, be open about that.
I got banned.
Stick to it.
I got put on TikTok
So let
jail.
me ask you a question, especially because of the way the apps have kind of
for
made
wearing a Puerto
dating,
Rican flag on TikTok.
I don't know what I'm trying to say, but do you recommend people to date one person at a time to get to know them and date them for a relationship and see if it works? Or do you recommend you date
What is it that you don't understand? I'm
beginning
55
stages,
years
a
old.
couple different people and see which one might have that potential?
I think if you have the opportunity to meet more than one person, especially at the beginning, it's always great to get to know people and you learn more about yourself, especially if you're newly single after being in a relationship for a long time. I think it is important to just understand, who you are as a single person and how you interact and what you like, what you don't like. And that can take going on a few dates. But at the same time, I'm a matchmaker. I'm all about people, ending up getting married. And I like to see people, once they find their person, I like to see them commit and really work towards a relationship and that bond ultimately.
What do you think in your research and your work, what is the biggest thing that keeps people from committing and really going from that dating stage to a real relationship?
Yeah, well, that's just the world that we live in right now. Is our culture is all about bigger, better. What else is out there? And they're fishing, right? So an app, all these dating apps, it feels like you're fishing. So you catch a nice fish, but you're gonna throw it back and see what else you can get. Yep. I've heard stories of people getting back on the apps when their date is in the bathroom. So that's just where our society is, and some people are anyway. And yeah, it's unfortunate, but I think again, hold true to your values, who you are, what you want, and you'll find your person, because there's others like that out there.
And what are some of the things that you notice in terms of communication that people might be afraid to talk about or really get into when they're in the matchmaking process?
Yeah, and piggybacking off of that, how is politics playing a role in how?
Oh yeah. So a lot of people on the apps, they are putting it right like front and center. I won't date anyone that voted for Trump or whatever it is that how they feel. And with a matchmaker, people aren't afraid to tell us those things because that's our job. They look at us like we're their confidant, and so they can tell us all of these things. Sometimes too much, but we will draw the line. And so we focus on, again, who would be a good complement to them and their values and everything. But to answer your question about politics, it's definitely made a huge difference in the last, I would say, 5 years or so. And what people are open to, it's never been quite as divisive as it has been in the last, I would say, 5 years or so.
And when they're thinking about, I would say, Valentine's Day, and again, for couples that are together, because again, we talk about couples that haven't met yet, but now, like, you work with couples that have made it and are married now. What are some of the things for people in relationships to take note of on Valentine's Day? How should they approach this week and holiday to make sure that, that their partner is really happy and feels loved, and they also feel like they're having a good time as well?
Yeah, it really depends on your partner and what they want, I would say. I personally, we don't celebrate Valentine's Day. We try to celebrate it on every other day except for Valentine's Day, or find some other time. Because I truly believe you need to focus on your relationship and take care of your relationship every day of the year, not just on one day. And a lot of times people do these grand gestures on Valentine's Day in order to, make themselves better in the mind of their partner. But I think it is important to look at what your partner wants and what they expect, because they may want something, so you don't want to disappoint them. But I think it's more important to maintain the relationship and do a good job on every other day.
April, can I ask you a quick question about being a matchmaker? Did you happen to see The Materialists by any chance?
I am, no, I refuse to see it.
Okay, so mind if I ask why?
Well, it was just frustrating to me because I heard there's a scene about there was an assault apparently in the movie, and they acted like that's just like something that happens all the time. And no, it's not. That's not something that's normal for matchmakers or anything. No, I just didn't think it was a good portrayal of the industry and was kind of perturbed. So I'm refusing, I guess.
No, that's a good reason.
Totally understand.
I think one of the things that's interesting among my generation is this idea of presence in relationships and in dating, of course, because of the things we're looking at right here, these phones. Now, what would be your advice for anybody out there in the dating world? How to be more present, how to take things slower and really be deliberate in meeting someone, getting to know them, as opposed to just breezing through it and being distracted and not really getting to know anybody. Because that's one of the biggest things I see in my generation with dating, is that people aren't present in the relationship or when they're dating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, it's just like anything, you have to have your goals and work at it. So I tell people, like, if a relationship is your ultimately your goal to get married, have kids, all those things, you have to work at it just the same way you did for your career. Or whatever, maybe you're in sports or something, you train and you practice, and you just have to be deliberate. And maybe it is putting it into your calendar or making it part of your to-do list. But I think it's like anything, you have to have discipline. You have to take yourself off the social media so you're not, just scrolling away and wasting your time. It's just, I think it comes down to discipline and like, who do you want to be? What do you want to be? What kind of relationship do you want?
Exactly. And asking those questions is so important. Like, it's more like self-reflection is what you're saying. Like, having those internal discussions to make sure you're ready and you know what you want.
Yeah, and I would say do your homework, and who are you? What books have you read about relationships? How did the last relationship that you were in, how did that end? And what was your part in that? Have you talked to a therapist or a counselor? Have you just figuring out like your childhood? All those things are going to show up and be present in your next relationship. So it's important to understand yourself and understand your triggers, because those are not necessarily your partner's problems. That is yours, and you have to manage it, because you're not going to find somebody that's not going to push your buttons. We're humans that are going to be attracted. Yeah.
Really, the triggers is so important.
April, if people want to learn more about Luma Luxury and they want to reach out to you and find love, how do they do it?
They can go to lumasearch.com luma.com, and Luma stands for luxury matchmaking. And yeah, just fill out the profile form, and we would meet with them and see if we can find them a match.
All right, matchmaker April Davis. Thanks so much for spending some time with us here tonight on the Live Zone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Tony P. Okay, so you mentioned being present. Okay,
Yes.
I didn't do this story tonight on Do You Like It or
Okay.
Not, but I came across a headline
Uh-oh.
that said 1 in 3 college students admits scrolling on their phone during sex.
What?
So talk
During?
about being present. You know what that says to me, Tony P?
What?
Bad sex.
It does. I mean, I'll tell you
Lame
something.
Sex.
You know what? And I'll say this. I mean, you know, it goes to our generation. We're very distracted, all that stuff. You really have to think about, you know, it's a partnership in all ways, whether it be life choices and trying to take on the world and careers, especially, you know, physically as well. Again, it's, you know, you have to think about being for your partner first. In my opinion, you have to think about that. And I think it's important to really think about their needs. One thing that, you know, that I'm working on too, with like my lifestyle being so crazy with the 9,000 things that I'm doing, is trying to make sure that I'm intentional in how, you know, I make time in my relationships. I want to be there and I want to be present.
Yeah.
And I think you
Makes
have to,
total
again, again, having schedules, putting it in the calendar, making sure you spend quality time. My biggest problem is I'm always on my phone working when I should be present with my partners. That's a big thing I want to work on as well. And it's just, it's a part of the generation that give me during sex. That's kind of embarrassing for our
Next level.
generation.
It is
I'm
pretty
sorry.
bad. It's
I mean,
pretty bad.
there's also a study that came out that 26% of SpongeBob SquarePants viewers are non-married adults with no children or not in relationships. Maybe that's the reason, because they're scrolling during sex.
So I
because of
brought up that movie Materialist, and part of the reason I did that is because I did want to ask whether it's okay to date potential, as in what you might see that other person living up to, as opposed to what they are right then. That, I mean, that there you could write a million think pieces.
Potential
about that
money,
movie.
yes.
I did find it interesting. Oh, Tony P, we could have that. We'll save this.
Oh yeah,
debate.
but not like
We'll
if
save
you're
this
not good
debate
here
for another night.
Nah.
Just a reminder before we go. Fox News reporting that one person has been detained in the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. She has not been found. We'll have updates on this story coming up right here on Fox 5 on air and online, and right here on Fox Local and Fox 5 News at 10. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. For Tony P, I'm producer Chris. We'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same place. Have a great night.
What's up? I couldn't talk because I was tuning into a show, so I'm getting banned from TikTok a lot for doing certain things, and I don't understand what it is that I'm getting strikes for. It could be for anything from like talking to wearing a specific clothing or design or something. Yet this platform, not this one, TikTok, you know, has a lot of people that, you know, show worse things than I do, and they don't get banned or warnings or anything like that, or violations. So yeah. If you I have the same name on TikTok. It's Real.raw.Fitness. If you want to go check those videos out, go give me a follow and you'll see what I'm talking about. Especially, I get upset when a lot of people, especially men, wear clothing, don't wear clothing, you know, are shirtless or whatever, and they don't strike them. They don't go against community guidelines, yet I'll go ahead and put, you know, stuff on, and, you know, people are reporting me for some stupid, odd reason. So, but anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get ready for bed because I am extremely tired. So thank you for joining me. I know I wasn't talking much, but go give me a follow on TikTok. It's the same name, except that I have double dots in between the first word and the second word. So Yeah, have a good night. Oftentimes I get a lot of foreigners on here and I really don't like coming on YouTube because I don't really want to speak to foreigners. But yeah. All right. Have a great night. Gotta go.